Hi, I'm Brandon.
Hi, I'm Akil.
And you're watching the Shabazz podcast training on the Higher Learning Network. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ayan.
Hi, I'm Aisha, and you're watching the Shabazz Spring Session Training on the Higher Learning TV show.
Our guest today is award-winning clinician Khalid Scott.
Here at Shabazz, we address our elders as Mama and Baba. So today we'll be addressing our guest, Baba Khalid, as Baba Khalid. So today, our guest, Baba Khalid, is a clinician and consultant, marriage and individual psychosocial therapist, mental health trainer, life coaching transformational speaker also. Hi, Baba Khalid.
Good afternoon. How are you two doing today?
We are good.
Very well.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
All right. Pleasure to have you here. Have me here. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure's all ours. So let's get right into it. All right. So the first thing that we wanted to ask, because as we can see, you have so many credentials at the end of the day. LCSW, CADC, LPHA, CWEL, C/SWHC, so many. So we want to know what do those mean?
Oh, wow. Okay, well, let me give you a little bit background on myself. I am a licensed clinical social worker, so that's the LCSW. And I've been practicing social work for the last 30 and a half years. And not only am I a social worker, I am a mental health therapist. I am a drug and alcohol counselor. I'm a domestic violence counselor. And I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker, and I'm an author. So been pretty busy over the past few decades. And the thing is that when Sister Zelda asked me to be on your show, I was honored because I love speaking to the youth. The reason why I came into social services was that I wanted to primarily work with children, to help them with their mental health issues and just keeping their life right on track.
Yeah. Oh. As you said, you are an author. So can you tell us a couple of your book names? Or your book name? If there are none.
Okay, well, I've been a contributing author, to different books. One book on mentorship and Black males. Another book on oh wow, I've never been asked that before, and I got 7 of them. And wow, I got these questions before you asked me. Wow. I am so sorry. Happy Mondays. That's one of the books that I've contributed in. And it was 5 more other books. I don't know the books offhand. I'm 55, almost 55 years old.
You do not look like you're 55. You look like you're like 30s. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, young people. And the thing is, too, one of the things that I talk to children about is self-care. You know what? Drinking water, eating healthy, eating your fruits and vegetables, exercise. I go and work out 4 times a week, and I tell children, don't just think because you're young, you don't have to exercise, even if it's something as simple as, going for walks, you know what I'm saying? And then there's nothing better than having a wonderful and healthy mind, body, and spirit, and it's imperative, and especially when you want to prepare for young adulthood, because when you're young, things come real natural for you, right? But as you start getting older, as your body starts getting older and you transition into young adulthood, you have to be mindful to take care of yourself. So that's very important, very important.
Very much, of course. So when we read your description, there were so many things, but one word that really got me interested was the word psychosocial. I really wanted to know what that is, like a psychosocialist. In my brain, I thought it was like a psychoanalysis or a psych specialist, but I wanted to know what it is.
Okay.
Got
you. So my education and my experience, right, is in primarily in mental health, right? So what happens is this is one of the books that is like my best friend, right? And it's called the DSM-5. And what happens is I'm a clinician. So what happens is I meet with people who have challenges, mental health challenges, right? And we use this book to give them diagnoses, right? So what happens is we do an evaluation, and we ask you a series of questions, and we do a history on you. So we found out, like, is there anybody in your family who's ever had depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety? Because oftentimes we find that if maybe mom is depressed, you may have some symptoms of depression, right? And then we talk about your lifestyle, right? And then that's when I decide, after doing a series of testing, that do you have an actual diagnosis? And what happens is you have to meet a certain criteria, in order to have that specific diagnosis. And then once we know what your diagnosis is, then we know, like any doctor, once a doctor figures out what's ailing you, what's bothering you physically, then he knows how to treat, or she knows how to treat you and what medications to use. So what happens is with my clients and my patients, I find, like, so for instance, say if I have a client who's dealing with depression, right? So then as a social therapist, I know what level of treatment we need to be involved in. And I use what we call like cognitive behavior therapy, right? So what that is how you think is what you do, right? So if you start having more positive thoughts, you start acting out more positive. If you have a lot of negative thoughts, you act out negative. Well, I help you switch to positive thoughts, positive behaviors, to have a better life. And that's it.
It says you've been single, but have you ever been through a heartbreak or formal event?
Wow. Okay. Well, yes, I've been divorced, and I've been divorced for about 12 years. And when I got divorced, I immediately put not only myself in therapy, but I put my 10-year-old daughter into therapy as well. And it worked out perfectly, because in the therapy, we got to address the hurt, the pain, and the loss of the divorce. And then we knew we were going to have a lifestyle change, right? So my daughter went from having both her parents in the same house, seeing us every morning, noon, and night, to 1 week she was with her mom and 1 week she was with me, right? So that's a major life change, right? And what the therapy did was it says, well, this is happening, right? How do we adjust? How do we make this better for everybody involved? And I had to deal with, because I was used to seeing my daughter every day of her life, right? And now I had to see her every other week. But, eventually at the time, and, time truly heals, it started to be normal, and we just enjoyed ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And we really started to get over the anger, the disappointment, the hurt, the pain, and said, okay, this is our new normal. We have a new life, right? And we just made the best of it. And I was a very active dad. So I went to recitals, award ceremonies, school functions, and I love spending quality time with my daughter. And now 12 and a half years later, my daughter is getting ready to graduate from college in 11 more weeks, and she's getting ready for medical school. So it's though it started off bad, a divorce is not easy, but I made the best of it. We all made the best of it. And me and her mom, we get along pretty well because we made her the focus of our love. And that was it.
Do you feel like your life is perfect?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great question. Perfection is something I tell people that it's a goal that we want to all try to work on, but is it easily achievable? No, right? But the major goal should be, I want to be happy, right? I want to have peace in my life, and I want all areas of my life to be good, right? So I look at it as there's 8 major areas of our life that we need to really focus in on as an adult, right? So we need to focus in on our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, our financial health, how we give back to the community, right? How do we see our spirituality, right? How do we deal with our finances? And then number 8, how do we deal with the bigger community, the world we live in, right? And if you work on all 8 areas, right, at the same time, and that's possible, then you have what we call a life of balance, right? And then another thing that I work on with children and with adults is what we call emotional intelligence. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yep.
Okay, what do you think emotional intelligence is?
Basically, how do you handle your emotions, or what do you do when something bad happens to make sure that you don't like flip out or stuff like that?
What do you think it is, man?
So I think is like how to control your emotions even better, and just think about your emotions. Like if you're angry, but you don't want to like what she said, flip out, then you have to like calm yourself down so you don't have to, crash out or flip out.
Okay, very good, very good. So just to take what you just said, we all have 50% emotions and 50% intellect, right? So it's basically your mind and your heart. And what I teach my patients is how to balance both of them, how to live in a world where both of them are equally yoked. Because like typically when we think of emotions, we think of what? Girls, right? Girls tend to cry. They tend to be in their feelings, right? Well, guess what? Boys cry. Boys have feelings. But the world teaches us to kind of, for us boys and men, hold them in. No, we have to stop doing that because we're not benefiting with that. And then we teach girls, or we need the girls to know that it's also cool to have a rational mind. You can't just always feel everything. Or if you start off feeling everything, you got to come back to your rational sense, right? So think about if all of us were 50% emotional and 50% rational, right? It would be fights in the world, right? Because usually, like when you see a man and woman getting into arguments, the woman is feeling emotional. The man is like, well, why are you acting like this? Well, we want the man to understand where the woman is at, and we want the woman to understand where the man is at. Or it doesn't even have to be men and women. It could be 2 friends, right? One may be more in their emotion, one may be more rational, but we want them to meet in the middle because that's a good life. That's a perfect life when you are balanced, right? So it's like as being students, right? You want to have your fun time, your free time, but you want to take care of your academics, right? And if you know how to do both of them well, that's the best of both worlds, right? So you see all that stuff I have on that wall, right? I've been a busy man, right? Those are me and my daughter awards and our diplomas and our degrees, right? But we know how to have fun as well. You got to have a life of balance. And that helps with your stress level, right? Because it's stressful, right?
Yeah.
You want to make good grades, right? Right?
Yeah.
Eventually, you want to go to a good high school, and you definitely want to go to a good college, right? If that's your plan, right?
Yeah.
But always put all your work into school work, right? Then you're going to be stressed. And then what good is that going to do you? You want to be able to, like, Monday through Friday, school focus. But Friday night through Sunday night, I want to chill. I want to have fun. I want to play my video games. I want to hang with my parents and my siblings and have fun. I want to hang with my friends. I want to watch TV. I want to play video games. So then Sunday night comes around. Let me get back into what? School mode again. So Monday morning I can be refreshed and I can go in there and put my best foot forward and make the good grades that my parents and my family and my community need me to make.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Aya, do you have another question?
What do you normally see in kids that you work with?
Okay. Well, for 23 years out of my 30 years, I worked with DCFS children. Have you ever heard of DCFS before?
Yep. They're basically children that have to go to a different kind of school because they're not necessarily, they act the best.
No, that's different.
Nope.
I'm talking about foster children.
Oh.
You are in the foster care. So it's Department of Children and Family Services. So these are kids whose parents had some struggles. Maybe their parents, neglected them. Maybe their parents physically harmed them. Maybe their parents were on drugs, whatever the situation is. So someone else had to be in charge of the kids. So maybe they went to go and live with a grandparent, or they lived with an auntie or uncle, or a family friend, a godparent, or they went with someone who wasn't even related to them, but it was just a traditional foster parent. So, of course, the kids couldn't live with their mom and dad, right? So imagine not being able to live with your mother and dad. That would hurt you, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is they hired me to come in to be a therapist to help the kids with that loss and separation. And one of the things I let the kids know immediately, this is not your fault. This is not your fault. For whatever the reason, your parents had some struggles, but we're going to make the best situation out of this. We want you to talk to me and talk to other people who you can trust to get out your hurt and your pain and your sorrow. And then we still want you to do well in school. We want you, when it's appropriate, to have your visits with your parents and your siblings or whoever. And we just want you to have the best life you can possibly have, even though this is not the best situation you want to be in. And also, we're putting you in a home where the people who are taking care of you, they love you. They care about you. They want you to be a happy human being. But now, is it still hard for those kids? Absolutely it is. But we let them know that, hey, your life still matters. And you don't ever have to let a situation predict your future. So let me use me as an example. When I grew up, I didn't have a dad, right? I did not have a dad one day of my life. So most people would think, man, I was going to have a hard life to live, right? But I had the opposite. I had a wonderful childhood because I had a great mom. I had grandparents, aunties and uncles, cousins, a whole community that took care of me, right? I knew I was loved. And then when I grew up and I got married and had my daughter, I knew I was not going to be the father like I had. So I was very participatory in my daughter's life. And now my daughter's a 21-year-old, getting ready to be a college graduate, and I have won Father of the Year 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
I never had a dad, but I was not going to let my situation predict my life or control my life. I was going to live. I grew up, quote unquote, in the hood. I grew up on 76 in Essex on the southeast side, right? And it was a poor area. It was crime in that area, but now I live in a $300,000 home, right? With a water fountain in front of it, right? But when I graduated from high school and I went to CBS, right? Have you heard of CBS High School?
Not really. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, CBS is on 87 and Jeffrey. Well, when I graduated, I went to the Army, right? because I knew my mom didn't have the money to pay for college, but I knew the Army would pay for me to go to college, and it did. And I went and got my bachelor's degree, and I got my master's degree. And now I make $200,000 a year, and I have now my own private practice as well as I work for the government during the day. So again, your life, even if it doesn't start off the way you would want it to, it's up to you to make it better.
Yeah, that's so nice. And on that note, we do have a caller.
Yes.
Caller, can you state your name and your question and where you're calling from?
I would like to ask, we heard about your experience at the job and how you didn't have a father. So I want to know, what got you into, being a counselor? Was it that you wanted to help people and maybe make sure that they didn't feel the way you felt, or just any other reason? I would like to know.
So they asked, what made you become a counselor? Was it because you grew up not having necessarily a father and you didn't want them to feel that same way? Or was there any other underlying reason?
Wonderful question. Thank you, caller. So when I got done with the Army, right, I went to a school down in Atlanta called Morehouse. Have you ever heard of Morehouse College?
Atlanta.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, I went to Morehouse. Young man, have you ever heard of Morehouse College?
No, not really.
Okay, well then I'm gonna get on your team then. Okay. Well, it's an all-black male college in Atlanta. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So right across the street is Spelman College. And Spelman is all girls college, right? So I went there my freshman year, and then I had to leave to go into the Persian Gulf War. Well, when I got out the war, I came back home to Chicago, and I went to Chicago State University to finish my studies, right? Well, while I was there, I took a psychology class, psychology of urban youth. Well, one day we had an assignment. We had to go to juvenile court to observe the court system, right? So I had to watch kids who were in DCFS going to foster care. And then I had to hear cases where kids had criminal charges against them, right? Well, as I was leaving out that night, I saw a Cook County sheriff taking 10 black boys upstairs to the jail. And it was that moment I decided that, you know what? I'm not going to deal with computers, because I was a computer major at the time. I said, I want to become a social worker because I want to help young black children live better lives. And because of my own life experience, I just want to help make sure my children live better lives. So that's what led me to do this work 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's so nice. Have you ever met, because of your psychology work, and also there are sometimes mild cases, but there can also be a lot of cases where it's not necessarily mild. You know what I'm saying? Like their problems or the issues that they may be going through. So not saying, no, I don't want you to give, if you don't want to give a lot of information, but has there ever been a time where a patient that you felt like there was just a lot, they had a lot?
Yeah.
You couldn't do really anything about it?
Oh, no, it's always something we can do about it. Always. I've had clients, one of the toughest diagnoses that a person can have is schizophrenia or bipolar, right? So someone with those diagnoses, they can seem normal. And then within seconds, all over the place, right? And so what happens is when we evaluate them, we decide in the treatment plan, how are we going to help meet their needs to keep them stable, right? So we put a lot of those clients, oftentimes we give them medication. And what the medication does, it works with their brain, right? And it brings them down to a normal level, right? And we make sure that the client takes their medication every day. And then not only do they take the medication, they come and see somebody like me or a psychologist, and we sit and we talk about their problems, right? And we talk about what they need to do to stay stable, right? And as long as they get, take their medicine, as long as they keep seeing their therapist, more than likely they'll be stable. And that's the best we can do.
Oh yeah, someone in the chat asks, have you ever been in a traumatic event that changed your life?
Yes. My divorce was very traumatic for me. But that's why I said right after I got divorced, I put me and my daughter into therapy because I knew I wanted to get the hurt out. I wanted to talk. See, for me, the best medicine is communication. If you're going through something, talk it out. Even if you don't want to talk to another human being, talk to Allah. You know what I'm saying? Talk to get it out your system. Because the more you hold in stress, the more you hold in anger, the more you hold in depression, the more you hurt yourself. But when you release, like, have you ever had a good cry and then when you wiped your face, you felt better?
Yeah.
It's because you let it out. Or have you ever saw something funny and you laughed so hard and then it just made you feel so good, right? Like, I'm gonna do an exercise with you right quick. You ready?
Okay.
I want you all to laugh real loud. Now stop. Didn't you feel good doing that?
Yeah.
Feel good doing that. You let it out. And that's what it's about. Letting everything out, don't holding things in, and wanting to have the best life you can.
That is so wonderful, and I love your message. But I thank you for being our guest.
It's over with?
Time now. It's so crazy. I was like, what happened? The time just went by so fast.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for being our guest today, Baba Khalid. And I'm Aisha.
And I'm Ayan.
And you're watching the Betty Shabazz podcast training on the Higher Learning TV show. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Be blessed.